Good day, everyone. Welcome back to Mathematics MJ, where numbers make sense. So today, guys, we are focusing on um, uh, basically it's a common test, March 2019, from KZN. So I want us guys to go through all the questions and then maybe try to answer all the questions with an understanding, right? So I'll be explaining everything thoroughly so this is 2019 March, ne? Out of 75, let's start with question one. So for question one, we are given solve for x, but there's keywords there. They're saying correct to two decimal places. As soon as you have those keywords there, then which means you use your quadratic formula, ne? You jump to the quadratic formula. So let's use our quadratic formula. So your quadratic formula is given as x is equals to negative b plus or minus square root and then b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a, right? Where a is equals to 7, b is equals to negative 2, and then c is equals to negative 3. Now we just need to substitute the values. So is equals to, you have your negative 2 there for b, plus or minus, then it's your square root there, negative 2 all squared, minus 4, your a is 7, and then your c is minus 3. Close the bracket there, and then 2 divided by 2 times 7. And then you use your calculator there to get the first solution of 0.81. And then the second solution, you will get your negative 0.53. So why are we having two solutions? Because there's plus or minus there. I hope it makes sense. And then now we move to the next part now. We move to the next part. Solving for x again, which is 1.1.2. 1.1.2. So here we are given x minus 2 squared minus 4 equals to 0. So let's transpose 4. So this is x minus 2 squared is equals to 4. And then take the square root both sides. Now this is x minus 2 is equals to plus or minus 2, right? When you take the square root, don't forget to use plus or minus for your solutions. So basically, we are simply saying x minus 2 is equals to positive 2. Or x minus 2 is equals to negative 2. And then x is equals to 4, or x is equals to 0. And then that's your final answer. Now let's move to 1.1.3. So for 1.1.3, we are given square root of 7x plus 2, then plus 2x equals to 0. So the first thing that you have to do here, you have to isolate the set, right? Isolate your square root there. So 7x plus 2, how do you isolate? You transpose 2x to the right-hand side. And then square both sides to get rid of the square root. So we square both sides. And then from there, this is 7x plus 2 equals to 4x squared. And then from here, let's transpose everything to the right-hand side. So this is 4x squared minus 7x minus 2 equals to 0. Now factorize. So this is 4x plus 1 and then x minus 2. Therefore, x is equals to negative 1 over 4, or x is equals to 2. And then after getting your solutions, you have to check the solutions so that we can get the correct one. So this one is not the one that we have to use. So we write NA there. Then this one is the correct one. I hope it makes sense. So if you're given a set and we are expected to solve for x, after getting your final solution, you must make sure that you check the solutions, right? Now, 1.1.4 inequalities. Now, x squared minus x minus 56 less than 0. You open two brackets. You have your x and your x there. 8, 7, minus, and plus. Draw your number line. What are your critical values? X is equals to 8 or x is equals to negative 7. And then from here, we have to draw our number line. So you have your negative 7 and your 8. They are not included because there's no equals to there, right? And then the coefficient of x, you have a positive there as well as a positive there, which means positive times positive will give us a positive. So you have to start with a positive here. Alternate negative and a positive. Perfect. And then this sign is facing left hand side, which means you are looking for a negative. So where is your negative on your number line? So it's in between these two numbers, right? So which means we can conclude and say the solution is between 8 and negative 7. Then that's your solution. And then we move to 1.2. That's our simultaneous equation, right? 1.2 is our simultaneous equation. So 1.2, you have your 2x plus y equals to 1. So this is equation 1. 2x squared minus xy plus y squared equals to 4. This is equation 2. Now, let's take equation 1 because that's the simpler one, right? So from equation 1, we have your 2x plus y equals to 1. Now, transpose 2x so that we can isolate y. So now y is equals to 1 minus 2x. This is equation 3, right? Now, substitute your equation 3 into equation 2. Now, let's do that. So basically for that, you will have your 2x squared minus x, and then now we're substituting. This is 1 minus 2x plus 1 minus 2x all squared equals to 4. And then now distribute. Let's distribute. So we are distributing now so that we can get rid of the bracket. So this is 2x squared minus x plus 2x squared plus this will give us, okay, we will just use the FOIL method to get rid of the bracket. So this is 1 minus 4x plus 4x squared minus 4 equals to 0. Okay. From here, let's try and take care of the like terms. Let's take care of the like terms and see where do we get with that. So you have your 2x squared, and 4x, which will give us 8x squared. That's fine. And then you have your x and your minus 4x there, right? That would give us minus 5x. And then you have your 1 minus 4, that's minus 3, equals to 0. Now factorize. You have a trinomial, so which means you can factorize. So this is 8x plus 3, and then x minus 1. Now, basically, x is equals to negative 3 over 8, or x is equals to 1. Go back. Our equation 3, that's 1 minus 2x. So we have to substitute. So y is equals to 1 minus 2x. Y is equals to 1 minus 2x. 1 minus 2, and then this is minus 3 over 8, which gives us 7 over 4. And then y is equals to 1 minus 2, there's positive 1 there. This is 1 minus 2, which is equals to negative 1. Now you go to your y and your x. Yeah, that's it for simultaneous equation. If you still have a problem, you can go back, you pause the video, and then you go back. Pause the video, and then you go back. But I hope it makes sense. Now, let's move to the next question. Question 2. So question 2, solve for x without the use of a calculator. We are given x, okay, this is 2.1. X to the power of 3 over 4 equals to 64. So these are rational exponents, right? We call these rational exponents. So how do you solve rational exponents? You always look for the inverse of this exponent all the time. Look for the inverse. So you have your x, that's 3 over 4, multiply both sides by the inverse, which is 4 over 3, is equals to change 64 into 4 to the power of 3, and then times the inverse, which is 4 over 3. Now, 3 and 3 will cancel. You will be left with 4 cubed, which is equals to 256. Then you're done. That's your final answer. Now let's move to the next question. For the next question, you have your 2.2. So for 2.2, simplify without the use of a calculator, and you are given 5 to the power of negative x there times 125, 1 minus x, 25 to the power of 2x divided by 5. First step, change everything into prime factors. So this is 5 to the power of negative x. Then we change this is 5 to the power of 3, 1 minus x. We're trying to fight for the same base so that we can use the laws of exponents here. Divide by 5. And then from here, let's try and get rid of the brackets. So you have your 5 minus x, there, and then this is 5 to the power of 3 minus 3x. You distribute there, multiplied by 5 to the power of 4x divided by 5. And then this will give us, let me just write it here. This will give us 5. Now let's apply the laws of exponent. Law number 1, negative x. When you multiply the same bases, you add exponents. So I'm adding all the exponents now. So here I'm dividing by this 5 to the power of 1, which means I must subtract there. So it's subtract. Now 5. These will cancel each other, né? And you'll be left with 3 minus 1, which is 2. 5 squared is 25. So your final answer is 25. Now we move to the set. 2.2. This is 2.2.2. So to simplify the sets, make sure that you break the numbers inside the roots so that they can be a combination of a prime number and a perfect square. So let's break down root 12. We have to break down root 12, right? Break down 147. And then break down, okay, this one, we can't break it down for now. So let's start with 12. Prime number is 3, perfect square, that's 4. Correct. Now, for the 147, perfect square, that's 49. Prime number, that's 3. Plus, let's change this from exponential to a set form. So this is the square root. Okay, before, let me just do this. So this is 3 to the power of 3 over 2, right? Which is equals to the root of 3 to the power of 3. Now, so here you have your 3 times 4 minus your 49 times 3 plus 3 cubed, sorry, it was 3 cubed, not 3 squared. 3 cubed, that's 27. 27 can be written as 9 times 3, combination of a perfect square and a prime number. So this will give us 2 root 3, because it's the square root of 4, which is 2, and then you drop down root 3, minus the square root of 49, that's 7, and then root 3, plus the square root of 9, that's 2, and then root 3. Now you have a common factor there of root 3, right? So 2 plus, that's 3, not 2. This is 3, not 2. Now 2 plus 3 is equals to 5. Root 3 minus 7 root 3. These are like terms. Subtract 5 minus 7 is minus 2. Oh, my 2 looks so terrible. So this is minus 2 root of 3. Now is simplified. I hope it makes sense to everyone. Now we're left with the last part of our exponents. And it's very, 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 very interesting. It needs one to be creative, this one. You need to be a critical thinker. So this is 2.3. So for 2.3, okay, 2.3, we have to calculate without the use of a calculator the value of A. And you are given 5 to the power of 2006 minus 5 to the power of 2004. plus 24 divided by 5 to the power of 2004 plus 1 equals to A. Basically, this is an exponential equation in a way. And there's plus or minus separating the bases. So how do we go about solving this kind of an equation? So here, you first change this 2006 in a sense that it's written using the smallest exponent. So it can be expressed as 2004 plus 2 because the smallest exponent there is 2004. So here you have your 2004 and then plus 24 divided by 2004 plus 1 equals to A. Okay, now let's separate the exponents. So you have your 5, 2004, separate the exponent, this is 5 squared, minus 5, 2004, plus 24. Sorry, why am I thinking of the 25? That's 24, and then 2004 plus 1 equals to A. Now, there's a common factor there of 5 to the power of 2004. Take out that common factor. So you have your 2004 there. Now you're left with your 5 squared minus, here you're left with 1 plus, you drop down with 24 divided by 5 to the power of 2004 plus 1 equals to A. Okay, but 5 squared, that's 25. 25 minus 1 is equals to 24. So this is equals to 24, and then plus the 24 that we've been having all along. And then this is 5 to the power of 2004 plus 1 equals to A, right? Now there's a common factor of 24 there. Let's take out that common factor. You have your 24 left with your 2004 plus 1 there. So that when you multiply this thing back, you get that as well as 24. I hope it makes sense. And then from here, let's not forget our denominator and the right-hand side. So you have your 2004 plus 1 equals to A. Now let me use a different color to show you that now I'm cancelling. Okay, this is a bracket. Now 24 is equals to A. So A is equals to 24. I hope it makes sense. Now we've calculated the value of A without the use of a calculator. That was interesting. That was interesting. Actually, I enjoyed that sum. And then from here, we move to question 3. Let's quickly move to question 3. So your question 3, okay, let me fix this part here. Okay, perfect. So for your question 3, given tan theta equals to negative 9 over 40 and theta is between 180 and 360. So basically, this is condition number 1, and then this is condition number 2. So we have to use these conditions to draw our triangle on our cast diagram, right? So the question they're saying, use a sketch to determine the value of sine theta plus cos theta. Okay, so 3.1. So for 3.1, you are given your tan theta there equals to negative 9 over 40. And then your theta, they're saying your theta is between 360 and 180. Now I'll explain why I'm calling these my conditions. Let's draw the cast diagram. You draw your cast diagram there. After drawing your cast, okay, sorry. Draw your cast diagram. After drawing your cast diagram, this is your 0, 90, 180, 270, and 360. Now, tan is equal to this value, and this value is negative, which means tan is also negative, right? Now, where is tan negative according to the cast diagram? So you have your A, S, T, C. Tan is negative in quadrant 4 and quadrant 2. You make ticks there, ne? And then now, this one, it says theta lies between 180 and 360. This is our 180, first tick. This is our 360, second tick. Where you have two ticks, you draw your triangle. Now I'm drawing my triangle. Perfect. Now, I want to remind you of something. When you go up, your y is positive. You get your positive y. Left hand side, you get your negative x. Right hand side, you get your positive x. Left hand, down, you get your minus y. Please make sure that you remember this. Ne? So with that being said, we can conclude and say this is made up of y over x according to the trig ratios, right? Meaning our y is equals to 9, our x is equals to 40. Now, our x there is positive, so which means you will have your positive 40. And then your y is 9, which means you'll have your negative 9 according to this, right? Now, so you have your 40 and minus 9, but now we're only looking for r. So we have to use the Pythagoras theorem. Let's do that. Let's use the Pythagoras theorem. So you have your x squared plus y squared equals to r squared. And now what is our x squared? That's 40. What is our y? That's minus 9 all squared equals to r. Now, this will give us 1681 equals to r squared. Now, take the square root. Right for danger, we're taking the square root then. Now, r is equals to 41. Now, basically, when you take a square root, you have to write an answer of plus or minus, ne? Okay, plus or minus. I can use plus or minus here because r is a distance, right? So, since r is a distance is a scalar quantity. It only has the magnitude. Doesn't have the direction. It only has the magnitude. So, we don't consider the direction when it comes to the distance. So basically, this will be our positive 41. And then from here, now let's start and answer the question. Sine theta plus cos theta. Now let's express sine theta and cos theta in a form of y and r, even x. So this is y over r plus x over r. Now, I want you to substitute now. So this is negative 9 over 41 plus 40 over 41. Now, you have the common denominator there, so you just write that denominator and then subtract there on top 40 minus 9. Sorry, 40 minus 9, that's 31. So it's 31 over 41. Correct. Then we're done. We got now the value of sine theta plus cos theta without the use of a calculator. Okay. Yes. We're done. And then we move to the next question. This is trigonometry. Trigonometry is not that difficult, but it needs one to keep on practicing it because it can be a nightmare, especially if you don't have a solid foundation of grade 10. Now let's move to the next question, which is 3.2, simplify fully. That's what they said. And then they give us 6 marks. Wow. As soon as I see those marks, I, I just get scared. Six. That's a lot. But okay. You have your sine 90 minus theta multiplied by 10 of 360 minus theta, and then sine theta minus 108. But it's not a problem. You guys have Mr. Chuacha, so I got your back. I got your back. Now let's continue. Sine 90 minus theta 360 minus theta sine theta minus 180. Sine theta minus 180. Okay, let's fix that one. So you have your sine of 90 minus theta, 10 360 minus theta. I'm not in a hurry. I just want to fix this one. Take out the common factor of negative. Now you're left with your 180 minus theta, ne? So that when you multiply by the negative, you will get the same expression there on top, right? And then all divided by 1 minus cos squared theta is equals to sine squared theta. So this is an identity. Now let's try and get the reduction of these. So sine 90 minus theta, using our cast diagram, 90 minus theta is in quadrant number 1, and in quadrant number 1, we know that all the trig ratios are positive. So we're going to have a positive answer. That's number 1, first thing, right? Secondly, 90 minus or 90 plus, that's a cofunction, which means now sine changes to cos or cos changes to sine. So sine changes to cos. Now this is cos of theta. Done. We move to tan 360 minus, that's negative tan, because 360 minus is in quadrant number 4, and tan is negative there. Sine 1 negative. So this is negative angle, and negative angle, sine lies, okay, cool. Negative angles, they lie on quadrant number 4. And in quadrant number 4, only cos is positive, which means sine is negative. So that's your sine of 180 minus theta. I hope you're still moving with me. So this is sine squared theta. Now, let me close the bracket again. So you have your cos theta. Now we have your cos theta, ne? And this is negative tan. By the look of things, let's just cancel negative and negative there. Now you're left with your tan theta. But sine 180 minus, that's quadrant number 2. Quadrant number 2, sine is positive. So you have your sine theta there. All divided by sine squared. Now, okay, let's change tan into sine and cos. So your tan would be your sine theta divided by your cos of theta. Then I'm writing this cos. It's that cos there, multiplied by cos, and then my sine multiplied by sine theta, all divided by sine squared theta. Now, divide and cancel. Cancel. Now you're left with sine versus sine. Can you see? They multiply. So sine theta times sine theta That's sine squared theta. Divided, let's not forget that sine squared theta. So this is sine squared theta, which is equals to 1. 6 marks for free. So our final answer is 1. If you did not understand, pause the video, go back, and try to go through the video again so that you can understand. Done. Now we move to the last part now of the question. 3.3. 3.3, we are given cos, okay, determine the value of the following in terms of P if cos 32 is equals to P. Okay, so your cos of 32 degrees is equals to P divided by 1. But remember, cos is equals to x over r, adjacent over hypotenuse, right? Um, Now, which means this is your x and then this is your r. We are looking for your y. Now, let's use the Pythagoras theorem now. We have to use the Pythagoras theorem. Draw your triangle there. Draw a triangle. You have your p, you have your 1. Pythagoras theorem, that's your x squared plus your y squared equals to your r squared. What is your x? Your x is p. We are looking for y equals to your r, which is 1. Now, p squared plus y squared is equals to 1. Now, y squared is equals to 1 minus p squared. Square root both sides. So y is equals to 1 minus p squared. Now that we found our y, we can answer all the questions. Let's start with the first question here. So which means here, this is 1 minus p squared. Now, 3.1 cos of 212. Cos of 212. Okay, cool. Where does 212 lie according to our CAS diagram? Go back to the CAS diagram. 0, 90, 180, 270, 360. Ne? It lies on quadrant number 3. What happens in quadrant number 3? 180 plus. So we can change this in the form of 180 degrees plus, make sure you use your 32. 32. So this can be changed into 180 plus 32, right? But now cos 180 plus, cos is negative there, right? That's quadrant number 3. So we have your negative cos of what? Of 32. And then the final answer. But now this can be expressed as p, right? Because they said cos p is equals to, sorry, cos 32 is equals to p. So which means now we can say cos 32 is equals to, you substitute p. Your final answer is negative p. Correct. Now let's move to 3.2. Which is our very last question. Our very last question. 3.3.2. You are given your sine of negative 328. Okay, 328 lies on quadrant number 3. What happens there? We have to say 360 minus an angle. Ne? But before we do that, we can see that this is a negative angle, which means negative angles, we can only get them in quadrant number 4. And in quadrant number 4, sine is negative. So this becomes your negative sine 328. Now, reduction, try to reduce there. Now, 328 lies in quadrant 4 again, and in quadrant 4, we get 360 minus. How can we express this? Making sure that we use 32. Then we can say 360 minus 32. And then from here, sine in 360 minus quadrant 4, sine is negative there. So this will give us a negative times a negative, right? And then you have your sine of 32. So I'm doing this for those who won't understand when I just write a positive. I hope now it will make sense. So the final answer now is positive sine 32. Now, when you go back, sine of 32, the angle there should be our 32. Now, sine of 32, that's just y over r. What is your y? Your y is root of 1 minus p squared divided by your r is 1. Then the final answer is 1 minus p squared under square root. And then this is your final answer, guys. Guys, we've come to the end of our video, and I hope everything makes sense here and you have understood the way I've explained all the questions. You can comment if you have questions, so that I can know very well what to cover for my next video. Don't forget to also subscribe, like, and even share my videos. Ne? Thank you so much, family, for your time. Bye.